driving a conversation, making sense of the news.
We have been following the story since it broke yesterday. They finally signed the bill into law. So we have presumably a new, fresh Electoral Act. But before going to the meat of the matter, I would think that certain things, as far as the legislative process, is still not very clear to anybody who is really paying attention to the whole process. First of all, we have had people who said that if they issue notice of election, any electoral act coming after that will not actually go in tandem with the election season, because the notice of election is supposed to spell the beginning of the election year. But now INEC issued a notice of election. Now the president is signing it after. I don't know, maybe the question for the experts will be, does our law become retrogressive like this, or have our laws become retrogressive? Because often and often I've been told that laws are meant to be progressive as against being retrogressive. And second of all, I'm still looking out for the input of the conference committee in all of the stages. The president gave his assent yesterday, but there was no indication that the conference committee considered whatever thing that was considered by the larger house. And it goes back to plenary. When the plenary came back and voted again, the impression was they were voting again based on some observances, the Ramadan fast, and the fact that there were some technical, clerical errors that were observed. They never gave the impression that they were voting again based on the recommendation of the conference committee. At the end of that voting, we saw a report that said the Senate President constituted again a conference committee. So I wouldn't know whether that was an academic exercise in view of the fact that they were voting again. I wouldn't know. I would hope that experts will help us to clarify some of those things. But the meat of the matter is the fact that the president is saying that electronic transmission of polling results can't replace manual. It's really interesting because it shows that the president is following the process. He said so himself. And now, during the course of signing, he asked questions. Nigerians should ask whether broadband-wise we are capable. And he goes on to say that what is most important is human management of the whole process as against electronic system. That anything we are doing is still humans that will manage it. And for me, starting with that, I will want to ask, is the president supposed to be asking Nigerians this question, or be answering questions as to why we're still going back and forth, whether electronic transmission is possible or not? I like to talk about the kind of false hope Fabio is selling, because he's talking about how everything is now okay, because we're now talking about transmission manipulation will no longer be feasible. But we have also been able to identify that whether transmission is used or manual transmission, manipulation will still be there. I take, for example, if we think that it's Uhuru because of electronic transmission, there are people who will still attempt to alter the election results. That's from Easy 8-8.
Before snapping it.
Yes, even after snapping it. And then, let's say they forge it and there is technical error or technical hitch with the IREF. Or the result is raw, and somebody can still refer to that from Easy 8-8. We have seen instances where court make everything a bit complicated. And so because there was a technical hitch and we cannot see the result on IREF, don't you resort to manual? It doesn't defeat the purpose of electronic transmission. So I think when we sell hope to Nigerians, we should sell the reality. Let me talk about going back to what the president said about the broadband capacity, asking us to answer the question of broadband capacity as against the president providing us a reason as to why we are still asking that question. Part of the reasons we have been told we are still hanging around a particular percentage. There are quite a number of them, but part of it is maybe electricity, right? The fact that sometimes there is no adequate electricity or it's not stable, and some of these network providers will have to resort to finding ways to power their equipment. The time they power their equipment, the money to even invest in things that will enable broadband penetration, will not be there. All right. And so the question will be, the president or your own part, what are you doing when it comes to electricity? Let's forget the fact that it has been decentralized and states have been enabled to do all of these things. But the one that is still left with the federal government, the national grid and all of that, what is the president doing about it? And now we have a report that says Aso Rock have left the national grid. All right. And the president is asking us such a question when the question should be thrown at them as to what they're doing when it comes to some of these things that limit broadband penetration.
Driving the conversation, making sense of the news.